Have you ever been excited to play the game you've just bought? You sit down for the evening and boot up your PC or console with snacks and a drink ready. You boot up the game and then you spend the first half an hour closing pop-ups with information you already knew, and you wish there was a way to disable the tutorial so that you could just be actually in the game properly. Wouldn't it be better for the tutorial to be really a great part of the game itself? So good, in fact, that you barely even realised it was a tutorial. Well, let me tell you all about what I believe is gaming's greatest tutorial, the Great Plateau. I think context is really important as to why the Great Plateau is such a level above other tutorial areas, and that's the uncharted territory the Legend of Zelda found itself in with Breath of the Wild. Never before had the series ventured into the ever-growing open world genre, and with the last 3D Zelda game coming in 2011, it was a release being met with serious expectation and longing. Never before had the first couple of hours of a game been more important in the series than they were here, and with a history of relatively slow starts, it was vitally important that the Zelda team found the magic formula to not only inform the player, but to deliver a satisfying beginning. Therefore, it's probably not unreasonable to assume that the dev team spent a significant portion of time in pre-production working out how they were going to introduce the player to this new era of Zelda. After all, if you've played Breath of the Wild, you'll be aware of the huge number of different gameplay mechanics that form the main gameplay loop of the game. But in today's video, I'm going to focus on 3 key elements that were tackled as part of the Great Plateau. The shrines, spirit orbs and Link's abilities, the towers used to map out Hyrule, the weather mechanics. This is also by no means an exhaustive list of what is taught to the player in the Great Plateau, but I feel it's these core fundamentals that allowed the impossible to be achieved. Welcome to the Zelda Realm, where we talk all things Legend of Zelda every Sunday. Be sure to like this video and subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss an upload. If you love Zelda, then this is the channel for you. When you first boot up Breath of the Wild, almost immediately you're aware of the changes this new era of Zelda brings, as for the first time in the series you experience a fully voice acted cutscene, followed very quickly by another first. You do not name your character, but are immediately introduced as Link. For me now, this means that I can never go back and play the old games and name it my name. I just always have to play as Link. Link wakes up, and controlling him, you make your way out of the Shrine of Resurrection to be met with this iconic scene. The scale of the world is realised. If you can see it, it's almost certainly true that you can go there. From here, your adventure begins, and after some interactions with the old man, you're directed to the first pillar the Great Plateau introduces: towers. It's a trope that's used throughout many open world games, and one that I immediately associate with Assassin's Creed. But how else would we be able to map out the vast world if we didn't have high points of interest to climb? All jokes aside, it's common in open world games for a reason. It allows the player to get a sense of scale of the area, as well as giving a practical way to unlock areas on the map. In Breath of the Wild, the towers not only act as map collection points, but great vantage points to scope out any shrines you may not have been to, or other significant points of interest. The Great Plateau's tower serves as the indicator to the player that this is how you unlock the map, and the cutscene showing the other towers rising from the ground gives the player the idea that they should visit the other towers in the game. And as you do not yet have the paraglider, this tower very conveniently has some nice and easy steps down to the ground that pose absolutely no threat whatsoever at all.
It's the fake news media and giant.
The biggest change that Breath of the Wild introduced was that of the shrines, which effectively replaced the traditional Zelda dungeons, and no, I am still not over it. Let's go all the way back to 2019. I was at university, and I hadn't been gaming for a long time. Whenever I decided to buy myself a Switch and try out this new Zelda game, after all, Zelda was my favourite franchise growing up, and I saw there was a new game out. I knew absolutely nothing about it, so I booted it up and started into the Great Plateau. Did I know this was an open world game? No. Was I aware there would be no dungeons? No. Did I realise that these shrines would replace them? Absolutely not. Not until it clicked after I had finished the 4th one. This for me highlights the beauty of the Great Plateau and how it informs the player and how their experience will go for the rest of the game. As I mentioned, there are 4 shrines to complete, each of which introduces the player to Link's new abilities and teaches you how to use them. These are Magnesis, Bombs, Stasis, and finally Cryonis. Not only do the shrines teach you how to use each of Link's abilities, they also set expectations for how long you should spend at each shrine. To highlight this, I'm going to talk over me, and yes, that beautiful person in the corner, that's me, playing through the Magnesis Shrine to highlight the significance of it. So one of the things that the Great Plateau does so well in its shrines is not only show you how to use Link's abilities, but also your expectation management of what each shrine is going to look like. So I'm playing the Magnesis Shrine here, which is the first shrine you have to do. It is super simple. It shows you the use of Magnesis, gives you some basic puzzles that you need to do. As you can see now, I'm doing the wall one. I chose to use the second block. I don't know why I chose to use the second block, but there we go. You feed that through. But it also gives you expectation in terms of combat. So you're going to find these mini guardians, all these different things, and it shows you here is what you need to expect in the future. You're going to solve puzzles like this one. Very basic, this one, but obviously they're going to get more complex as the game goes on. But not only are you going to solve puzzles, you'll probably want to go and collect the treasure chests. And it's also reminding you that if you see a metal treasure chest, you can lift the metal treasure chest out using Magnesis. So it does a great job of teaching you what to do. You've got the final puzzle, open the doors, and then you reach the end goal and you find your way up to the very end to collect your precious, precious spirit orb. While the shrines do a fantastic job of demonstrating the uses of each of Link's abilities, they probably do a better job of explaining the core gameplay loop of Breath of the Wild. You see, initially, the old man leads you to believe that you need to just complete one shrine to get his paraglider, before then absolutely having you for one and letting you know that actually you need to collect 4 spirit orbs, the shrine's main reward. Why does he do this? Well, quite simply, you're being shown that for every 4 shrines you complete, you can trade these in at a statue of Hylia for a heart container or a stamina vessel. And so really it's quite important that you go out of your way to complete these shrines in order to make Link stronger. Shrines and towers are also shown to the player as ways to fast travel around the map, and often you'll find shrines placed in convenient locations on the map, either beside stables or close to towns. Finally, the Great Plateau has its own mini climate and introduces the idea that it's really quite important to pay attention to the weather around you. In particular, when making your way to the Cryonis Trial Shrine, you're taken to a cold area where Link will slowly lose hearts if he does not have a warm piece of clothing attached, or has eaten a nice hot meal, or just 5 cooked chilies. That's definitely not going to burn you, and I'll just keep you warm. Yep. Another neat trick here actually is to light a torch and carry it. Doing so will keep Link warm, but leave you pretty vulnerable to enemy attacks. It's a system that becomes super dynamic and sometimes really, really annoying as you progress through the game. When it rains, you cannot really climb up surfaces. In warm areas, you need to cool down. And heaven forbid you have any sort of metal attached in lightning storms. That is a recipe for disaster. But it's a Great Plateau that subtly tells you to pay attention to the weather that for me really cements the genius of it in the first place. Every single element of the area is designed to teach the player something about the game, because ultimately, everyone playing the game for the first time is in the same boat. Did I mention that also, this area is pretty huge? There's easily 3+ hours of content to enjoy in the Great Plateau alone, and when you first open the map, you may be guilty of thinking, wow, this map must be big. And then you zoom out, and you quickly realise that Hyrule is genuinely huge, and that you're going to lose hundreds of hours of your life to this game, and it's going to be the best time of your life. So when it comes to tutorials and games, I think it's pretty fair to say that the Great Plateau is the greatest Not just because it teaches the player everything they need to know, which let's be honest, is a prerequisite for tutorials, but because it does it in such a way that you barely even know it's a tutorial. I'm currently playing through Breath of the Wild for the 5th time, and I'm spotting or realising things from the Great Plateau that I didn't previously. It's genuinely quite amazing how quickly you can get lost in the magic in Breath of the Wild's world, and when you complete the area and King Realm hands you the paraglider, that is when the true Breath of the Wild experience begins. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, why not let me know by commenting RIP King Rome in the comments, and we can all send him some respect together. If you fancy watching me play some Zelda live, you can find me live on Twitch, the link is in the description below, and before you go, why not watch this other great Zelda video I made.